Hi there, football fans. Welcome back to Goalside. Adriano was a symbol of power with his sheer physicality combined with world-class technique, all of which culminated into Adriano being the next big thing out of Brazil. This gave him one of the best nicknames a footballer's ever had, the Emperor. But the Emperor got lost somewhere along the way. So what happened? Well, to answer this question, we have to rewind all the way to the beginning of 1982. When Adriano Lete Ribeiro was born. He was born in the poor parts of Rio de Janeiro. Crime rates are over the roof in those areas, and drugs and too much alcohol are a part of everyday life. However, aside from hanging out with local youngsters, Adriano found himself another source of fun back in that day: football. He would play barefooted in the streets, between the houses, and basically anywhere he could. As Adriano was growing up, he focused on football more and more, escaping the punk life he could have had in favelas. However, it was just in 1999 that he joined Flamengo's youth squad. Contrary to what you might expect, Adriano actually started out as a defender. The coaches thought he could be a good fit there with his size and power, but it didn't take long for Adriano to change their minds. His goal-scoring talent was off the charts, and he was quickly deployed as a striker in the youth squad. As soon as he started playing there, Adriano stunned everyone at the club. This meant that he received a senior call-up for Flamengo just a year later, in the beginning of 2000. And it didn't take long for Adriano to impress. The millennium started by him scoring a goal in a small tournament Flamengo participated in. He continued scoring consistently, earning himself a professional contract in June of 2000. But Adriano wouldn't stay in Flamengo for very long. Inter tracked Brazilian players hoping to find the next Ronaldo. Ronaldo Nazario de Lima played at Inter at the time, and he was so good that it pushed Inter into looking for more of the same in Brazil. They found their target. Adriano moved to Serie A in 2001-2002 as he signed for Inter. However, he didn't play there a lot in his first season in Italy. Nerazzurri loaned him out to Fiorentina and then to Parma as they wanted the youngster to get some playing time. And he did get his playing time. 32 goals in 2.5 seasons on loans were enough for Inter to bring back their striker in January of 2004. The Brazilian had scored 8 goals in 9 appearances for Parma at that point of the season, and Inter wanted him immediately. Adriano didn't disappoint. He bought Meazza's visitors with his powerful left foot, so unique that many spectators still claim it was the strongest left foot to play for Inter to this day. In half of the 2003 and 4 season at Inter, Adriano scored 12 goals, promising great things to come. Inter knew they had a gem on their hands. This was confirmed in the summer of 2004. Brazil participated in Copa America, where Adriano dominated, to say the least. He won the Golden Boot of the tournament after scoring 7 goals. But a certain moment stays as one of the best in Brazilian history. It was the Copa America final, and Adriano had scored 6 goals in the tournament by that point. However, Brazil were losing to their most hated rivals 1-0 going into injury time. And then, Adriano received the ball in the box, turned around, and shot an unstoppable left-footed strike, tying the match in the dying minutes, leading Brazil into the extra time. Carioca went on to beat Argentina on penalties, and Adriano was the hero in Brazil. Everyone felt like he was the best footballer in the country at that time, despite Ronaldinho's emergence. His season at Inter proved that the incredible Copa America wasn't just a fluke. Adriano scored goal after goal, ending the Inter season with a total of 28 goals to his name. He continued dominating internationally as he won the Golden Boot once again in 2005 when he led Brazil to the Confederation Cup glory. Adriano was everything every fan dreamed of. He was strong, powerful, and had an unstoppable shot. Not only that, but he was also a great technician with a soft feeling for the ball, all of it seemingly combining into a perfect player. From July 11, 2004 to July 29, 2005, Adriano scored a whopping 42 goals, and he was the biggest hit in the world of football. But the disaster struck somewhere in the meantime. Adriano's father passed away. Zanetti recalls the event when Adriano found out. He got a phone call from Brazil. "Adri, Dad is dead." I saw him in his room. He threw the phone and started screaming. You couldn't imagine that kind of scream. Since that day, Murati and myself watch over him as he was our little brother. He kept playing football, scoring goals, and pointing to the sky, dedicating them to his dad. After that phone call, nothing was the same. Ivan Cordoba, an Inter teammate, spent one night with him and said, "Adri, you're a mix of Ronaldo and Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Are you aware you could become the best player ever?" We did not succeed of pulling him out of depression. You need to go back to Adriano's youth to understand just how much his dad meant to him. Adriano's father was the one that pulled his son from the streets. He worked tirelessly for his son. Adriano even recalled on his father's words once, "Son, I cannot give you expensive gifts, but I'll give you a football team." His father, Almir, made a huge sacrifice and spent all of his life savings to sign his son up to the footballing academy. From this perspective, it's easier to understand just how much Adriano was hit by his father's death. Inter actually gave Adriano a new contract in 2005, keeping him at the club until 2010. That proved to be a major mistake. Ever since his father died, Adriano changed as a person. Once known as a work maniac willing to do everything to win, he was now a shell of himself, throwing wild parties all the time. The 2006 and 7 season was marked with work ethic issues, addressed both by the club and the national team. Brazil's manager Dunga actually refused to call up Adriano in 2006, despite the striker's heroic contributions just recently. He wanted Adriano to change his behavior and focus on football. But Adriano kept digging his grave further and further. He also got into a lot of problems with Inter. Adriano was commonly benched after he'd missed training due to late-night partying all over Milan. Adriano opened up about his time at Inter later on. At that time, I only felt happy when I drank. I could only sleep if I drank. My coach, Roberto Mancini, and my teammates noticed that I was hungover when I arrived for training. And I feared arriving too late, so I didn't sleep and went to training still drunk. I slept in the medical department, and Inter had to tell journalists that I had muscular pain. And then, in November of 2007, the relationship finally cracked. Inter sent Adriano to Brazil in order to try and revitalize the striker, who had alcohol issues prior. But this didn't have the effect that the club was hoping for, and Adriano actually joined Sao Paulo on loan for the remainder of the 2007 and 8 season. Adriano kept putting on weight and at one point didn't even look like a footballer. His alcohol and overweight issues kept popping up, and many people gave up on him. The player's return to Brazil predictably didn't go down well. After just a few months, the club director declared he left the training ground because he wanted to. The team does not miss him. If he's not happy at Sao Paulo, he's free to go. And go he did, returning to Inter in June of 2008. At this point, the club didn't know what to do with him. But Adriano surprised everyone by successfully starting out the 2008 and 9 season. He scored regularly, gave hope to Inter fans that he could return to his best. After all, he was only 27 in the prime of his career, at least on paper. Once Adriano refused to return to Inter in April of 2009, it was clear that it was all over. Inter rescinded his contract, thus making him a free agent. The Brazilian knew where to go. He signed with Flamengo, 10 years after he joined their youth ranks in 1999. Adriano looked completely revived. He scored goal after goal and led Flamengo to winning the first Brazilian Serie A title since 1992. It looked like the real Adriano was back, which prompted Roma to sign him in 2010. The enthusiasm in Rome was big, and even Francesco Totti himself welcomed the Brazilian. Together, we could do great things for a great Roma. I want to welcome the Emperor. It really was destiny that Adriano came to play in the capital with the red and yellow jersey. Every one of us will do our best to make him feel at home. He'll get the reception he deserves and the warmth of the fans. We will help him in every way to fit into the group. Among other things, he will find many Brazilians who he knows very well, having played with many of them for Brazil. It was a fiasco. Adriano didn't even last the full 2010-11 season, when he and Roma mutually terminated his contract. The player missed home and cited children as the main reason for his return to Brazil in such a short stint in the Italian capital. I cry when I speak to them on the phone. I didn't ask my mother to follow me here in Italy with them. It wasn't right. I'm 29 years old and I have to cure myself on my own. He then started playing for the Corinthians, where Adriano couldn't make an impact, making 4 appearances in total. This prompted to end his career. That is, until he showed up again in 2016 when he signed with Miami United. But, expectedly, that didn't last long either. After his playing career ended, Adriano proudly showed off his big belly and lived in Brazilian favelas. It's a sad story of a boy who couldn't cope with the pressure of life after his father passed away, and now returned to his origins. Ironically, while his dad took him out of favelas and poverty, his death made Adriano return to that same life. There were even photos of Adriano posing with golden AK-47, amongst other things. In a sad confession a couple of years ago, Adriano concluded, "I have never hurt anyone. The only person I hurt is myself." A sad story of unfulfilled potential and a young boy who rose to fame too quickly to handle it. It's one of the biggest what-ifs in football to this day, and nobody could guess if we talk about Adriano next to Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo today if there wasn't an unfortunate phone call from Brazil in 2004. But now, Adriano has to live with his legacy. He's fully integrated into the life of the favelas, hanging out with gangs while partying with his numerous friends back in the streets of Rio de Janeiro.